Morning everyone, Noel giving you the Week 2 Managers and Management online lecture. Today we'll go through a few things. Hopefully it won't take too long. We'll look at why we manage, why we need to manage and what managers do. We'll look at who managers are, where they work. We'll look at the four functions of management, and that's a pretty important one to have for the rest of the semester. But on that note, let me just get into it and you can listen and we go from there. Who are managers and where do they work? First off, there's no single best thing that defines a manager. As it says, no standard criteria. We probably all manage in some way already. I manage a teaching team and I'm an academic. You work in a business where you probably lead and manage others as a team manager or something to that effect. You manage your time to come to university. You manage your family's time when you need to get something done through your family. So in effect, we all have a little bit of management in us no matter what. What we'll cover here is more like the managing of an organisation. So at different levels inside the organisation, for example, what do managers do? Then, obviously, the next question is, what is an organisation? So an organisation is, as it states there, deliberate arrangement of people brought together to accomplish some specific purpose. Now, this covers a very, very broad range of organisations. For instance, volunteer organisations, service organisations, manufacturing organisations, government organisations, academic organisations like the university. There's quite a range, and that's just a small number. Artistic organisations, creative organisations, you get the point, I'm sure. So we do a fair bit, but all of them have one thing in common, and that is to accomplish some sort of specific purpose. Organisations have four basic characteristics, and there they are: goals, people, structure, and systems. So goals, what is it we're trying to achieve, and when? You'll see when you start to do smart goal setting that the time of, or timing of organisation achievements needs to be monitored as well. You can't have a goal that says, for instance, we'll increase sales by 10% and let it take 15 years. That simply wouldn't be effective. So goals need to be measured and they need to move the organisation, as it says there, from A to B. Increasing of sales, lowering of customer service complaints. There's a whole host of goals that the organisation might be trying to achieve. In a more strategic sense, a goal might be to provide a service to a particular clientele, or try to perform a service for the community that is free of charge, like, for instance, a volunteer organisation, the RSPCA or Lifeline. The next one there, people. People, I have to say, are the most important. The whole idea of management and organisations is achieving these goals through people. Without people, it's not likely to occur. Even if you're a small organisation and there's only a few staff, you're still using people to achieve those goals. The third one there, structure. Structure looks at how we design the organisation, how we set up the interactions and the flows of information between those people. You've probably seen these before, and the little diagram gives you a little hint there. So the top box might be the Chief Executive Officer or the Chairman of the Board, or a department head. Usually the department heads are second in line, and the second line of boxes at the bottom there. But no need to worry too much. We go into this in some detail in later weeks in the design of organisations. Finally, all operational systems. So this is concerned about how we convert our inputs to outputs. What are the processes? What do we have to do to the inputs to make them usable as outputs for our customers? And sometimes the outputs can actually become inputs again. Again, we can look at that in more detail when we look at operations management. So what is management? in simple terms, it's getting things done efficiently and effectively. They are key words. Underline them, think about them, and we'll go through them in a minute. But they are that's the bottom line. That's what you're doing as a manager. Efficiently and effectively achieving things with and through other people. Look at it in terms of process, the primary activities or functions that managers perform. So what is it that we have to do as a manager to make a sale, to provide a product, to service a customer? We probably ask the customers a question, then we take that information, make a decision with it, and then we provide them whatever it is that they ask. So there's a couple of steps just even in that basic example. We look at efficiency next, and as I said earlier, this is one of the most important things that managers do. In fact, when we look a bit later in the slides, you'll see that this becomes one of the most, if not the most important aspect of being a manager. And simply put, it's working out how to use the least amount of inputs to achieve our output. A simple one would be the hours that a staff member works. If I can reduce the hours that a staff member works, I'm using less resources, paying less wages, and I'm still achieving, hopefully, what I want to achieve in terms of my output. Now, this needs to be taken into context. You can obviously cut down hours and make things exceptionally efficient, but it might be detrimental to the effectiveness of what you're trying to achieve. And the next slide shows you effectiveness achieved by doing the right things. So we might look at a process or a system and think that some things that are in that system don't need to be done. So we'll take them out. That's efficiency as well as effectiveness. We're taking the things that don't create value, the things that in fact impede our ability to achieve our goals. So we're trying to be efficient as well as focusing on the goals. Efficiency, as you can see there, getting things done. Effectiveness is concerned with the ends or the attainment of organisational goals. An example would be customer service. You might be efficient by reducing your wages, but the quality of the customer service might be so bad because you've become so efficient that customers stop coming. Clearly that's not what you want. You need to be effective, in this case, in the eye of your customer, so that you can continue to achieve an organisation goal, usually concerned with profitability. So hopefully now you can see that efficiency and effectiveness go very close hand in hand are the most important aspects of management. This becomes a key aspect of your learning in this course, the 4 management functions. This is what managers do. First off, planning, defining goals, establishing strategy, and developing subplans to coordinate those activities. This is often, particularly when we look at establishing strategy, the role of senior managers, and we'll look at these levels in a minute. But planning becomes one of the key aspects of managing. You can't achieve goals if you haven't figured out how to achieve them. Organising, determining what needs to be done, how it will be done, and who is to do it. This relates to the structure aspect of organisations. So how do we put people in departments? How do we decide who reports to who? How do we decide which processes to use? Do you need to have, for example, a customer checklist to make sure that if you're serving the customer the correct way, is this appropriate? And who will check that this is being done? Leading, directing, coordinating the work activities of an organisation's people. So this is, I guess, an important aspect of management. Leadership and management are different things, and I'll go through this in week 5 in some detail, but they are different things. One must have the other. With managers without leadership capacity, probably aren't going to do well. Leaders without some form of management knowledge are probably not going to do well. And so you can take this leading as part of management, but it is different. Controlling, monitoring activities to ensure that they are accomplished as planned. So, for example, you might look at your profitability over a period of time. you'd look and see if your profitability has met the goal that you wanted, an increase of 10% or some profitability, and how might we control that. We'd look at our customer service levels. How do we control and make sure that our customers are always being served properly and really well, and then feed that back into the planning and organising and leading aspects of the organisation. Management levels, essentially there are 4 levels. So you can see them for yourselves. Many of you work, I imagine, and have or are in fact team leaders. So you're so close to the frontline staff that you would have one of the biggest responsibilities, leading and encouraging, motivating people that actually deal with the customers or manufacture products. So I want to use the cliche at the sharp end. You're the ones that deal with the day-to-day, the people that have questions from you are probably asking you about technical things like how do we serve this customer well and things like that. Frontline managers are the next level up. They translate the strategies from the top level managers to the team leaders. So who works on which day? What are you responsible for at the store level, if you like? Middle managers, they take the strategy from the top managers and translate that into tactical plans and goals for the frontline managers. I come from a retail background, so an example from my world would be the regional manager gives sales targets and staffing budgets, etc., to the frontline manager, who then works them out in concert or in consultation with the team leaders. Top managers are the broad speaking decision makers. They will determine strategy. They will determine which business or which areas or industries the company works within. They'll look at things like long-term strategy, usually 5 to 10 years, and how they might achieve that. Managers possess or need to possess a few skills, conceptual skills. Skills managers use to analyse and diagnose complex situations. How do you put this? Managers work in complex environments. It might sound silly that I say this, but generally speaking, managers do not have full information. Never in a job that I've had have you been able to get every piece of information you need to make a decision. So sometimes you've got to figure out stuff a bit like gut feel or intuition, and you'll conceptualize things. You'll get some information, analyze that, and then hopefully apply it to other complex situations. This sometimes works well, this sometimes doesn't, and that's the point. The conceptual skills are pretty critical to people, particularly at the higher levels of management. Interpersonal skills, well, I think that's fairly obvious. Skills involve working well with other people, individually and in groups. So how do you relate to your staff? How do you relate to your senior managers? Getting this right is a critical aspect of your university, to be honest, and you'll see that you get many pieces of assessment over the next couple of years that involve you with working in groups. Technical skills, job-specific knowledge and techniques needed to perform the work tasks. Again, a simple example of this would be the using of the cash register or the FPOS machine, or a piece of equipment like a forklift. Higher level managers, the top level managers, tend not to need technical skills as much. They'll definitely rely on other skills like conceptual and interpersonal skills. Finally, political skills. Now, often politics in organisation is seen as a negative. People sort of talk about politics in organisations as though they don't want it or it shouldn't occur. The bottom line is though that it does, and there's no way to avoid it. The trick is to be using the political skills that you've got for the benefit of the organisation. And as it says there, the ability to change, influencing others at work with the overall objective of attaining valued goals from the situation. So it might seem underhanded at times or negative, but political skills can be used positively within the organisation for the organisation's benefit. Next week, the managerial environment. We'll look at a range of environmental factors that senior managers in particular need to take into account when they are making their decisions in terms of planning and organising. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Hope that wasn't too painful, and speak to you hopefully in the workshops. Take care. Bye-bye.